Say hello to everyone on social media. Some of you may not know me. My name is Glenn Bridgers, and I'm in New York City. I wanted to start off today by sharing with you my personal mission statement. And I wanted to explain to you how that personal mission statement led me, like many Americans, to more closely align in political ideology with the Democratic Party rather than the Republican Party. And I think necessarily in doing so because only extremists believe in pure black and white. I want to also express with you the two core values that centrist Democrats like myself probably share in common with the GOP. And I think it will speak to where most Democrats like myself fit into the spectrum in the exact format that I want to give it to you. But let me first start with my personal mission statement. Now, I wrote some remarks here, and I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Um, like anyone else in America, I want to gain as much success and wealth as possible for the security of my own future and the comfort and security of my family. And my early experiences in corporate America, as I worked for many different organizations, some large, some small, have really informed what this mission statement is. I saw firsthand working at a lot of companies, especially when the job market would get tighter and tighter and opportunities were fewer and far between. I looked at the behavior of the companies employing us all, and I didn't really like what I saw. It got to a point, particularly in the retail sector, where there wasn't an honest day's work available for you. And what made the work dishonest was that the companies didn't have integrity towards the consumers. And it was your job to position them into win-win situations for the corporation and bait and switch lose-lose situations for the consumer. I don't have enough time to get into the specific experiences, but it was consistent enough that I was a guy who left many a job because I ultimately became unwilling to do what was being asked of me to do, just because of my integrity. And mind you, it didn't really help my marriage that I lost a lot of income by leaving opportunities voluntarily without being fired, leaving on principle when I had bills to pay and when money was few and far between. But I also had decisions to make so that I could look my son in the eye every day. So the short of it is this: my career mission statement is driven by this very simple mantra, which is be careful what you become on the way and in the pursuit of what you want. And it really is that simple. So I've made a decision in my life that I want my future success not to be built on anyone's back. I want it to be a win-win situation for me and the people that I'm going to employ and partner with in the future. Now that brings me to my political ideology, right? When I first started to become politically aware, like a lot of people, I looked at what people in my family and in the local community viewed as important, what they knew. And I looked around the spectrum and gained as much knowledge of the issues as I possibly could at the time. And I remember starting to feel like I really identified more with the Democratic Party, even though at this point in my life, half of my family were Republicans, but these weren't the days of if you were a Republican and there was a Democrat in the household, you couldn't talk. That was ridiculous. But let me refer to my own notes really quickly. One of the things that made me align more closely with the Democratic Party, admittedly, before I knew anywhere near as much about the issues as I now know today, all right, many, many decades later. I noticed that the Democratic Party leaned liberally, yet it allowed for a dissension of the use of principles, dissension in the ideas, and that very fact wasn't a deal breaker. I noticed that the Democratic Party was the party most likely to accept that members in its own congregation had very different views, some much more willing to compromise with the other side than others. But everybody did what they thought was in the best interest of moving issues, legislation, and progress forward. And it looked to me like the way my father handled uh, relationship in the home with my mother, right? There was always, all right, if this makes you happy, we'll do it. I disagree, and I don't think this is going to work. But, I want everybody to be happy. I'm willing to go through it. So I felt like the Democratic Party handled politics the same way that I saw a man handle relationship with a woman in a mature relationship, right? There was that sense of compromise. And that constant being the bigger person really appealed to me, whereas I saw a lot more trenches being dug on the right hand side of the spectrum, which didn't appeal to me at all, because I knew that was just chipping away at what was acceptable and empowering some fanatical minority group. And this is what eventually happened to their party completely. Right now, there's some of it happening on the left, and it's a little bit sad, but I'm 41 years old, and a lot of the younger people who were in their 20s, who were what they called Bernie or bust supporters, right? Or far left liberals that didn't get to have the kind of experience I have. I understand that they didn't have it, and it doesn't inform their behavior today. I want to deliver this accurately because I wrote notes to myself. So I want to say that those who want to push our party all the way to the far, far socialist left, they're the ones today creating all the labels and the pejorative expressions and names to call the rest of us who can accept that we have our liberal ideals, but we can't expect to thrust those ideals upon the vast majority of people in America who don't share each and every one of them. There are many olive branches built in to the views of, I guess, what you would call a centrist or neoliberal Democrat like myself. And here goes one great example. The two principles I share in common with the GOP are as follows. I believe in limited government when it comes to government offices and agencies that put obstacles in the way for entrepreneurs and small business, right? I don't believe that if you want to start a small business, you should have to go through a formidable permitting process, pay incredible fees to the city, and do all these things that are mechanical, court system driven before you've even opened up the doors, found a place to open your doors, or earned your first paying customer, right? I don't believe the copyright process should be such a formidable thing as it's become that favors large-scale businesses, right? I think you should be able to be a startup a lot easier than you can, right? Principle number 2. I definitely believe in limited versus excessive taxation, right? To be fair, I'd believe in it across the boards, because if it was just one rate for everybody, whether you were the smallest or the biggest, incentives could be intelligently created, right? But there sure as hell shouldn't be any incentive for the largest, most profitable companies in the world. They shouldn't be paying less tax than a secretary because they don't create more jobs, right? But I do believe in the concept of limited taxation, right? But here's the thing. I guess where I break with the GOP is that for me, well, one last point of agreement, right? For me, eliminating some of those challenges that I talked about in the prior 2 points is key in creating a society where America can, by the virtue of harnessing the collective talent of its citizens, gain the benefit of all our best possible output without handicapping any of us, disadvantaging us by process imposed by government. But with that being said, I want strong government, not weak government, when it comes to government's powers to preserve social justice and punish institutions and individuals who practice violent and economic discrimination, right? Put something out there for the price and sell it to anyone who can afford to pay it. Don't get caught creating systems to suppress that basic ability of consumership for your product or your service to specific groups based on demographics or other discriminatory, um, factors. And that's really it. I mean, this has been a pretty cold video from the couch. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'd love to hear what a lot of you folks think. Um, if anyone hasn't seen it, I'd advise you all to check out. There's a commercial going around. I think it's Budweiser, and they get all these people with contradictory views into a room, but they have them talk before they play videos where each of them have stated their views, right? The right way to do it, so that people feel uncomfortable blatantly discriminating against people they've just had an affinity with. You guys should definitely look it up. If I get the hyperlink to it, I'll try to attach it to the video. But it's been great talking to you.